right, I'm Chris Savino with American Outdoor News, and in today's episode, we're here with my good friend Larry Weishuhn. Larry, thank you again for coming on.
Oh, Chris, what a pleasure to be with you. Always great fun anytime spend time with you.
Larry, uh, we've known each other a long time. You've written for American Outdoor News since the inception, and
Love it.
it's always amazed me with the ease that you're able to not only tell a story, but put it on paper and have it so captivating. How do you do that?
Well, you're very kind, but uh, to me, campfires have always been really important, as you know, in so many different ways. And I grew up at a time to start with when there really wasn't a whole lot of TV, and people would sit around on the front porch on an afternoon or in an evening and maybe around a campfire and tell stories. And so to me, a lot of what I do goes back to those early days of people describing what happened and telling stories and had a way of really making you feel like you were there. You could feel the heat, you could feel the cold, the dust got in your eyes, all those or the smoke maybe if nothing else.
Yeah.
But to me, going back to those days is kind of what brings me to where I am today.
Now, I've been in a lot of hunting camps sitting around the fire, and I find that a lot of those stories are greatly embellished.
Now, wait a minute. You got to remember, don't ever let the truth stand in the way of a really good story.
Now, I mean, you've been in the industry such a long time. You've written thousands of articles. You've written several books. Uh, now you have three books out at the same time right now.
We do. I'd written several books, and it had been a while since I'd written anything in terms of a book. And so, a little over a year ago, I got together with Luke Clayton. Luke and I do a lot of different things together. And of course, you know Luke as well too. He has his
Sure.
own show, and he's a newspaper guy, but he's a very, very special friend. And we were sitting around talking one evening. Actually, we were at the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in Oklahoma, and he and I kind of looked at each other and said, we were telling stories to different people. And about the time we got finished, we need to put some of these down on paper and put them in a book form. So initially, we wrote a book called Campfire Talk with by Luke Clayton and Larry Weishuhn, and it's basically a book of stories of hunts and in different places, some recipes because both Luke and I really like to cook. And so we ended up publishing this book, and I decided to do it as a self-publishing thing so that I could control it a little bit more as to where it went and the cost and all those other kind of things. Had Jim Zumbo do the forward for us. Of course, Jim's been a very dear friend for a long time as well too. Got finished with that one, and I got to look, and I said, "Man, I've got a tremendous number of stories hunting deer in North America." And so I put together called a book called titled rather Deer Addictions, which is a book really about hunting deer in North America, starting up in the just out of the northern part of Alaska with the Sitka blacktail coming down to the Columbian blacktail, and then the Rocky Mountain mule deer, the desert mule deer, whitetail deer, the Coues deer, and on down into the central part of Mexico with the brocket deer. So that was the second book, and then Luke and I have long been talking about. He loves dogs, as do I, and there's a lot of other people out there that truly enjoy it. And so we got talking about it. Said we need a book about hunting wild hogs. We need a title. Well, as it worked out, I remembered from years ago, it was Johnny Hudman, who then ran the Nail Ranch, and Jay Wayne Fears, a very dear friend of many years, also absolutely fabulous outdoor writer. We're sitting on this ridge overlooking the Clear Fork of the Brazos, and down below us was a big old black boar. And we kind of sat there and looked at that thing for a little bit, and about the same time, both Wayne and I turned to each other and went, "Poor man's grizzly," because when you get right down to it, the big boars are truly potentially dangerous. There have been a lot of people hurt by it. There have been a few people killed by them, and yet it's an animal that can be hunted by just about anybody, regardless of what your budget is. And when it comes to wild hogs in North America, I usually tell people there's them what's got them and them what's going to get them because they're expanding. So that created the title for that third book, The Poor Man's Grizzly. And again, brought Luke on board on that one because he absolutely loves hogs, knows a lot about them, is a fabulous camp chef when they're cooked, if you will, when it comes down to cooking wild hogs. So the three books being Campfire Talk, uh, Deer Addictions, and then Poor Man's Grizzly.
Well, I could definitely relate personally to the poor man's grizzly. I love hunting hogs. Um, I've
It's fun.
hunted I've hunted them just about every way, and you're right. They are tenacious animals. If you don't hit them right, they're turning around, coming right back at you.
I've over the years I've been charged by several that were cornered, but I've also been all but run over by those that I just happened upon by chance in the thicket or hunting in an area where there was primarily just one trail and the hog was coming one way and I was going the other way, but we were going toward each other. And of course, I can tell you the wild hog won in most instances. If I didn't have a gun, I'd darn sure get out of the way.
Yeah, you don't play chicken with a wild hog.
No, you don't. That's not a smart move to do. You're right.
Now, the book about deer, what was that called again?
It's called Deer Addictions. And to me, I've been addicted to deer hunting ever since I can, as far back as I can remember. Grew up, of course, out in the country and we hunted deer. Of course, when I was a little kid, if you saw a deer track, my gosh, you were pretty fortunate. If you saw a deer, you were truly fortunate. If you happened to take a deer that hunting season, you were the community hero for until the next year came around and somebody else knocked you off the top of the heap. But so it's been an addiction over the years in terms of not only hunting deer, but also trying to learn as much as I can about the various species, and particularly with whitetail, since it's our most abundant of the deer species we have in North America. But I'll also tell you that I'm truly, truly enthralled and in love and all that other kind of good stuff with the mule deer and the other species or subspecies as well.
So basically, when you were younger, you lucked out a couple of years in a row getting a whitetail when they were scarce. They named you Mr. Whitetail, and the name stuck all these years, right?
I generally tell people I'm very appreciative of the Mr. Whitetail thing. That goes back to 1984 when J. Wayne Fears wrote an article for one of the Harris publications where I appeared on the cover, and it was about the choices of rifles and calibers and rounds that a group of us was our top choice. And in that article, he called me Mr. Whitetail, and that title stuck. Generally, when somebody asked me about the title, kind of tongue in cheek, I say, "What can I say? They caught me with my pants down," kind of thing. So, because my skin is rather white when you get right down to it being an ex, I should say, a farmer, a red-headed guy.
Now, campfire talks. That is a lifestyle. That's something you've lived all your life.
It truly is. Like I said, I've been enthralled by campfires ever since I can remember. Even as a little kid living out in the country, every chance that I got, I headed to the woods and I'd have a little campfire and I'd cook sausages and bacon on a stick, and occasionally back then, game laws were not quite as stringent as what they were, and if they maybe were, we didn't know about it. But there's a bunch of little different birds that I cooked over campfires as well too. But the campfire thing too is campfires are amazing. It brings out the very best of people. It brings out uh, it kind of opens their mind, opens their heart, and opens their mouth. J. Frank Dobie, who was considered the poet laureate of Texas, who was, of all things, a professor at the University of Texas years ago, was a folklorist and among other things. And on his mantle, he had it written in Latin, which I can't remember the Latin words right now, but essentially it says, "And I sat down in front of the world's greatest philosopher, the fire." And that's kind of a philosophy that I've carried forward with all this because people just are, I think they're attracted to fire, to campfires in particularly. Uh, and I've watched people walk into a room, even in the summertime, it's really hot. If there's a fireplace there, guess where they walk to and stand in front of?
They go straight to the
And I'm
fire.
and I'm the world's worst, I think, about doing that kind of thing. But I think we're just naturally pulled to those situations. And again, in front of that campfire, the heart, the mind, and the mouths are open, and people tell stories and love to listen to stories in those situations.
Well, there's something very primal about a campfire, and I think it's ingrained in us.
It really is. It really is. And I was on a hunt not very long ago with the guys from Field and Stream and a company called Bird Dog, and we were camped out in the Texas Panhandle hunting mule deer, literally out in tents, which and we had a campfire, and every evening it was amazing how the people immediately gathered around that fire and how the story started as soon as they got there. And it was so much fun, and I've seen the same thing happen so many other places, and be open about it. I look forward to that opportunity happening a few more times in the future as well too.
Now, the the outdoors has advanced so much in the past 30 years. The outdoor industry would not be what it is if not for people like you and Jim Zumbo and a handful of others who actually helped birth the industry and bring it to where it is today. Now, you've been involved in so many companies, so many products. Uh, Now you have a new line of knives that really look outstanding.
Well, I'll tell you where the knife thing came from. Again, like campfires, when I was a little kid, I had a pocket knife or a hunting knife at my side everywhere that I went. Of course, back then we were even allowed to carry knives in school, which you can't do anymore now, but unfortunately. But so the knife thing, and I've always been a user of knives. Many years ago, I collected some of the early custom knives and all that, and as a research biologist, I spent a lot of time doing complete necropsies on animals. I've taken apart lots of animals of all different kinds of species. And so I realized the importance of a knife. And so after many years of using everybody else's knives and going, I like this about this knife, and I like this, I don't like this. And I've always been one of those that said that any knife blade that's longer than your index finger, and I'll pull out one of my knives here in a second, is a waste of good metal because you cannot truly control what you're doing with the point of that blade. So I've always been one of those who believes in using a relatively sharp blade. And I used to judge hunters coming into our hunting camp. The I found that the longer the knife blade was, the less experience those people had, kind of thing. And so I really kind of look at people now, and again, going back, this basically is as long as if you can do that with a knife, when you're reaching in, particularly if you're trying to leave the cape on, or you're reaching in and trying to cut the diaphragm, and then the heart and remove the heart lungs and reach up to the trachea, you really need a knife that's no longer in your index finger. And over the years, I've taken apart everything but elephants with the knife blade no longer than my finger right here is. But so after again going back to all those years looking at, I like this knife, I like this knife, I don't like this knife, this is what I like. Finally decided, I was contacted by a company called Vineyard Max, which produces a fantastic deer attractant based on great skins of all things. They said, you consider working with us on designing a knife or two? And I said, absolutely, I'd love to. So we went up to the Silver Stag guys up in Washington, in the very northwest corner of Washington, and I sat down with Brad Smith there, and I designed two different knife style blades that I really liked. And today these guys are they're the ones. Silver Stag is one who's actually producing the knives. Now these are not, you can't say they're hand, because they start with the steel that's in this plate, cut them out, and then everything else is done by hand after that. So they're truly handcrafted. And the beauty of it is we're using whitetail and mule deer antlers primarily as the grips, and there's like there's two different styles of knives, and then within the one I just showed, there's two different styles of the grip. If you, one is just like a straight handle, the other has the burr, such as I showed. The other knife is a drop point that I designed, and it also has slabs. But each one of these knives, or even though the blades are the same, every handle or the scales on them, every one of them is different. So each one of them is an individual when you get right down to it. And of course, they come with the sheath and all those other kind of things as well too. But these knives are truly using knives. Somebody said, "Well, are they a skinning knife?" Or I said, "Yeah." "Are they a gut knife?" "Yeah." "Are they a caping knife?" "Yeah." I said, all things are built into be able to use those knives for anything that you do when it comes to taking apart an animal or even a fish, if you will. So, about 70 years of hunting experience of taking apart of animals kind of went into the design of these knives.
Well,
Bottom line.
I definitely agree with you on uh, the size of the knife being usable, but I'm a little bit at a deficit because I got short, stubby hands. So, so by your premise, I'd be using a penknife.
You know what? I will tell you that I've taken apart everything, even close to the side. Well, elk, even with a little Swiss Army knife with about a 1 inch blade kind of thing. And mentioning that, these days we have a lot of the replaceable blade knives that start with scalpels. And to me, I'm not a huge fan of them because I used those kind of knives many, many years ago. We were doing a lot of surgeries and all those other kind of things on animals that I was involved in. And to me, those are truly an expert's knife because you better be an expert and have something to take that blade off. The blades break quite frequently. You can't cut through joints like you normally can with a fixed blade knife, such as what I showed. So, if somebody likes those knives, by all means use them. But I would not I would not carry one in the field knowing that my life kind of depends on the knife kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'd really want something like I just showed you rather than a replaceable blade kind of knife.
So, where can we find the knives?
The knives can be ordered through vineyardmax.net, and it's www.vineyard.net. And that's the primary source. These are the guys I've been working with for a lot of different things, but those knives can be bought and can be shipped out very quickly. Actually, we've got quite a few on in stock, but they can also, if they wish, they can go to silverstag.com and just kind of scroll down there a little bit, and they'll find a place where they can order the Larry Weishuhn or the Weishuhn whitetail knives as well too. So, and then there's a series of dealers that have been set up in Texas and a few other places, but generally I try to drive people to the website. And I will tell you, if they order it from vineyardmax.net, I will donate $10 from the sale of each knife ordered there through to DSC or the DSC Foundation at the end of the year. So, and not only can you get a knife based on many years of experience, it's unique in a lot of different ways and not like anybody else's that's out there, but you can all help contribute to the conservation of wildlife and the perpetuation, if you will.
Well, with the holidays approaching really quickly, um, that's a great gift idea. Um, everybody needs a knife when they're out in the field. Definitely good to have. The books as well. Where can we find the books?
The book's the best place to do those, and there's several sources, but I usually try to send people to one of two websites, and one of Clayton, which is www.catfishradio.org, or my website, which is www, all lowercase, LarryWeishuhn.net, just like my name, and scroll down, and there's a place where you can order books, and and there's a lot of blogs there. My weekly podcast is there, and even the weekly uh, digital TV show that I do with Lee Clayton and Jeff Rice called The Sportsman's Life that appears on Carbon TV can be found there as well too.
Well, you got many media outlets and many ways to follow you. So uh, go to your Facebook page, your social media,
Yes, sir.
and they can take it from there. I actually followed your lead, and I have my own cookbook coming out the next week or
Oh,
so.
fantastic.
So I I'll be following in your footsteps.
Well, any way that we can help promote that, you just please let me know because, as you know, particularly both Luke and I love to cook as well too, and we're always looking for new recipes and new things to try. And any way we can help people enjoy the outdoors, particularly some of the things that they harvest in the outdoors, and a few other domestic animals as well, we'll do everything we can to promote it.
You know what I've found? Um, Even if you're not an outdoorsman, you don't hunt, people always like wild game. Yeah, because I'll have a game dinner for friends that don't hunt, and they're like licking the plate when they're done.
You know, you're exactly right. Wild game as a whole is so much better for us than many of the processed animals, if you will, kind of thing. And I mean, it's truly healthy in so many different ways. The taking of those animals is very important as far as the habitat and the conservation and the perpetuation of those particular species that we're eating. But also, when you do that, it's all the non-game species and the habitat itself that benefits because those animals are indeed hunted. And that's something I think that people forget sometimes. One of the best things that happened out of COVID, God forbid that we ever have another thing like that, but one of the things that happened out of COVID is it taught people that food comes from different places beside the grocery store. And it really introduced a lot of people, I think, to the outdoors in terms of hunting and fishing and going, what am I going to do when there's no food store and my family's hungry? Hunting and fishing are the best ways to do that. Not only is it good for the soul, it's good for the belly, and it's good for the body as well too. So
Well, it did get a
hopefully
lot
those
more
folks
people out.
the more people we can get out, the better we are. And I think the greater the understanding becomes of how important hunting is for the perpetuation of wildlife of all species, but particularly the plant community and the health of that itself.
Well, I do appreciate you taking the time to meet with us again today, and you're always welcome here. So anytime you want to come on, let me know.
I really appreciate it. And I just want to remind everybody that the DSC convention this year is at the World Congress Center in Atlanta, Georgia, January 9th through the 12th. If you ever thought about going to an outdoor show, this is as far as I'm concerned, and apparently people, the very best show there is. So, and of course, I'll be there, and I think you're going to be there as well too. And look forward to sitting down, and real across the table from you and visit with you a little bit. But that'll give us an opportunity to visit with a lot of folks there as well too. And thank you so very much for allowing me to come on with you. And forward to it, and for long we'll have to get you back on my podcast with DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn.
Well, I'll be in Atlanta for the DSC convention. I will be presenting the Lifetime Achievement Award this year. This year we'll be going to Jim Zumbo, even though he will not be attending. I know you'll be accepting in his place, um, but we're looking forward to it.
I am too, and as the inaugural, awardee on that, I am truly honored, and look forward to accepting that award on Jim's behalf as well, as I know he's truly proud of being presented it as well.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and thank you again. And don't forget to subscribe.
You've got it. We'll see ya.